So let's quickly recap what we did yesterday. So just a quick recap. We covered social media yesterday based on what the current hot news was happening around the world and how to tackle social media. What does social media want us to take? And should we really take it the way they want us? Or should we take it the way we, as an audience, as an individual, should? So that's what we covered yesterday, and we touched base the concept of hijab. We touched the misconception that hijab is being pressured. We touched based on dress code versus hijab. We have Islamic dress of code, and we have dress of code in all countries where we live. We identified the concept of hijab, ammar, and jilbab, okay, based on the Quranic references. And we confirmed that hijab does not concern female only, but it concerns both males, boys, and girls. Do you remember this from yesterday's seminar? Yeah, nodding of head. Okay, so let's look at this picture, guys. One is a protest for freedom of anti-hijab, and one is a protest for pro-hijab. Look at these two pictures. Which out of these two do you think their freedom has been taken away? One is saying and burning their stuff. They're saying that hijab takes away our freedom, and so we want to burn our hijab. Is that the truth? Is that really the freedom being taken away? The second picture is in India, where students want to wear their hijab, but they are being forced to not wear them. Likewise in France, they want to wear hijab, but rules and regulations are in place saying you should not wear hijab, and they get arrested. So whose freedom is being taken away here?
Second one.
Which one? Second one. The picture on the right? Why do you think that?
Because hijab is not forced on females, and they're not allowed to wear it in school, so they're being forced.
Yes, they're being forced not to wear it. Okay, but what about the picture on the left?
They're just like not being forced.
Mm. Yes? Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of assumptions. A lot of assumptions being said that hang in there, we will free you. Hijab is pressuring you. They say Muslim females are deprived of their honor, their dignity, and their freedom. They say that hijab is about the concept of your scarf. Is hijab just about the headscarf? Is hijab just about my dress of style? Okay? And they say hijab destroys your self-esteem and your confidence. This is what the news been saying. This is what your non-Muslim friends may come to you and say to you. And what do you think the solution is? The solution, they say, is basically not to have dress of code Islamic way, not to have hijab. If you take off this hijab, you are free to do everything the way you want to do things. Do you agree? Is that, yeah? Okay? Let me ask you this question. What does freedom look like to you? So please feel free to give you a second, a minute to think. What does freedom look like to you? If your parents say to you, today you have complete freedom, do what you like, what is that going to look like to you? Any ideas? What does freedom mean to you, or what does freedom look like?
Maybe freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech? Being able to express yourself openly. Is that what you call freedom? Yeah, freedom of speech. This quote is always saying freedom of right, freedom of choice, freedom of speech. Okay, next question. Does freedom mean your confidence increases? Do you agree to this? If you are given freedom, it means you can do anything you like. Would you have more confidence? Or your confidence will go down? What do you think? Any thoughts? Do you agree, disagree? Let's just have a general discussion.
Just say yes or no.
No? Okay, some people are saying no. What about you, Abiga? Do you think freedom increases your confidence? Okay, what about in a prison? If you're in a prison, guys, would you have more confidence in a prison?
No.
So when you are given freedom, would your confidence level increase?
Yes.
Okay. So our topic today, our topic today is concerning the concept of hijab and freedom. Does freedom, okay, come through. Is our freedom taken away by our hijab?
No.
Okay, many straight away strongly believes that no. We're going to unwrap this. Okay, we're going to find out what is the issue in today's time with concept of hijab. Okay, well, how is this contradictory to the concept of freedom? Okay, so this is our main focus today. We need to understand the difference between hijab and freedom, and how does our level of confidence get affected when we wear hijab. We will do this through the examples of most common assumptions that are being said to us. We will identify today what is the purpose of hijab. What are the different types of hijab, guys? Is it just my physical appearance? We need to work that out. And then inshallah we'll have Q&A. Just throughout, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask and jump in between the slides, okay? I went and did some research on the word modesty. We're gonna, for the sake of our entire segment, use the word modesty, particularly in reference to hijab, okay? So we're using the word modesty, and I did some research. If I can see the screen, there's two definitions I found of modesty. The first one said, the quality of not talking about or not trying to make people notice your achievement. You know, if you get a 100% on your marks and you go on about it and you show off. So that's basically saying that if you get a high achievement, you don't act smart over it. You don't overconfidently tell people, hey, I got this, you got such a low score. Okay, that is saying that's modesty. You're keeping your success to yourself. You don't make another person lower than you feel that way. Okay, a question.
Like when I act you like that, like you don't like show off.
Exactly. Thank you, Arman. That's exactly right. That's one type of modesty. And they said, if you notice in the brackets, that definition is approving. It got a tick by the the Cambridge Dictionary. But if you look at the bottom definition of modesty, what does it say? The quality in women of dressing or behaving in a way that is intended to avoid attracting interest to the opposite gender. And in the bracket, it says out-fashioned, old-fashioned. There's two different definitions. They're saying basically our dress of our Islamic hijab is old-fashioned. That is the definition. And what does this do? This starts implementing question in people's mind. They start saying, is my hijab, is my sense of style old-fashioned? That's exactly what it does if you go. The second aspect that I need to clarify here is self-confidence. Many of you guys think your confidence level is taken away by hijab. So we are dissecting and clarifying the terms first. Self-confidence. Here's the reference from the book, alislam.org. Okay? Don't get confused with the Ahmadiyya group. Okay, the website is two different. Self-confidence is acknowledging your strength and your capabilities. How would you describe confidence? What do you think your confidence is? Yes. Yeah. Anyone? What about the girls?
Being able to do what you want to do without being afraid.
Without being afraid, exactly. Okay? And when you know your strength and your capabilities, okay? And people with low confidence, they don't trust their own strength. Okay, do you agree to this definition? Yeah, nodding of head. The real confidence, guys, the real definition of confidence is when you accept your values, when you accept your symbols, your identity, and you stand up firm against the oppressions, you stand up firm against any obstacle that comes your way. That is real confidence. That's what we want to get into you. And your hijab is your real confidence. Your freedom is entailed with hijab. It's not separate from hijab. Tactics today that are being used on each and every single one of us. In this room, our brothers and sisters outside. What tactics is being used? If two countries are going to a war, this is the tactic that imperial countries, you know, that look, there's one country that is very powerful, another country is weak. The country who is powerful, this is the tactic they use. Let's see, what do? They convince people that they have nothing, that their mentality, their thoughts are backward, that they have fallen behind from modernism, that they are too immature to stand up on their own feet. This is the tactic they use. And they have been using this over the years. This is the first tactic that countries use, individuals use. Can you guys relate to somebody in your classroom, at school, who is kind of, you know, very up themselves, very overconfident, always trying, sometimes bully people? Have you come across someone? Okay, alhamdulillah, you haven't. You have? Okay, so these are people who are very confident, way too much. Now, how this relates? This makes the other person become afraid. This leads to low self-esteem in the other person, in the other country. And how is that being used today? Our hijab. They're using our hijab as a trap. They're using the concept of a hijab, our modesty, and manipulating that. In what way? They're saying, oh, your hijab is taking away your freedom. Women's rights are being taken away because of your hijab. They're using this base of hijab to get to their target, to make you feel low, to make you not reach to your highest perfection, to make you not reach persistence and move forward in life. Question? You definitely don't have to ask if you need to go to the bathroom, okay? So feel free.
Yeah, but I don't know what the toilet is.
I'm sure Ali can help you. Okay? And what does this do? This makes me question my beliefs. This makes me question my identity, my hijab. This is the tactic that's being used, guys. And what this does to you. A lot of sisters are in this situation right now. A lot of parents coming up and saying their children are in this stage. What is this stage? Based on the definition where you find your resources, your information, that hijab takes away my freedom, that thought in your mind is created by social media, by peers in your school. And hijab has become old-fashioned. That's the definition I showed you. This type of questions that come to your mind, you start asking questions about Islam. You start asking questions about your identity. And what this do? It affects your action in two ways. Either you take off your hijab completely, one easy way is completely take it off, but this doesn't happen most of the time. What happens is a gradual process. Slowly, you start taking off your hijab a little bit back. Then you start wearing transparent scarves. Then slowly you follow and you start doing this type of hijab. And by the time you don't even realize your hijab has completely came off. It's not going to happen all suddenly, guys. This is the process, this is the tactic they're using. It's going to happen slowly. This is exactly what's happening. So be very cautious, be very careful what they're doing to you indirectly. They're not going to come to your face and take off your hijab. Only in some cases this happens, but not to every one of us. So, is hijab just about my dress code? Is hijab just about my physical appearance? No, guys. Hijab is a physical aspect, spiritual, and situational. We're going to break it down into 3 parts today. The first one, physical hijab. Feel free to take photos, okay? We can give you access to the slides, guys, as well, okay, in the future. We should have printed out, but we forgot. With the Quran reference we made yesterday, let's dissect this. What does it mean? Tell the believing men and believing women to cast down their glance, to look down and protect their private parts. Okay? There's 2 very important points being mentioned here. The first, it applies to both genders. Okay? Second, it's referring to protecting your eye. Hijab of the eye. Okay? This is not just about my head stuff. Lower your eyes so you don't create absurd image. For ladies, Molana yesterday explained very well what it does to you, that it's not the person that you see again, but it is the image that is in your mind, that you eventually recall that person. Okay? So it creates image and thoughts into your mind. There's a warning and a protection in this verse for you. In the same verse, Allah says, I know what you do. So Allah knows your capabilities. Allah knows your difficulties. Do you think Allah is just going to leave you out there without any help, any guidance? No, guys. Definitely not. Okay? So you guys, that's one part of it. To keep your eyes down. Don't look directly. Somebody asked me yesterday, can you please talk about our intention when we look at somebody? You know when you're driving a car, guys, and you look outside the mirror, and then you focus on driving, and then suddenly you look again, you're like, I know that person. Is that allowed? The second time staring? How many of you have done this? It happens often, doesn't it? I'm sure you guys will agree. Your friend, you're walking by, and you look the first time, and you look again the second time. How much of this you are allowed to do? We need to break it down into 2 components. There's 2 types of intention. When you look at somebody, the very first type of intention is organic. Right now, I am looking at each and every one of you. I am addressing you, and so I have to maintain this eye contact. When you go to interview, you need to maintain eye contact. Public speaking, you need to maintain this eye contact. How does this? Is this contradictory with Islam? The Quran verse said, cast down your glance. So shouldn't I be having my eyes down, looking at the ground the whole time? I'm still looking at each one of you and addressing you. So where is this contradictory? Anyone?
You're supposed to lower it so you can't create absurd images, but if you're not thinking about that, you don't have that intention.
Jazakallah khair. Exactly, guys. Okay, so we're dissecting the concept of looking at people when you're talking. Okay, so that is organic style. You are allowed in Islam to look at people when you are addressing them. Okay, Assalamu alaikum to everyone, the brothers and sisters who have joined us. Okay, in the Battle of Jamal, Imam Ali alayhi salam said to Imam Hassan alayhi salam, cast down your glance at the enemies. This is in a battle. And Imam Ali is saying to Imam Hassan, keep your eyes focused on your enemies. Is this contradictory again to the ayah, cast down your glance? Do you understand what's happening? When we read a word, a verse, we just think of one translation of it, but it's situational based, okay, at different contexts. Okay? So Imam Ali is saying to Imam Hassan, be focused on your enemies. That's what it's referring to, and that is organic style. Bibi Fatima Zahra Salamullah Alayha, a prime example along with Bibi Zainab Salamullah Alayha. They always dressed modestly, yes? Do you agree? Did they always stay inside their house? Okay? Freedom of women being taken away. This is the Prophet's family we're talking about. Did they stay at home? No. They're ahlul haram. They are the prime examples who went outside and performed their duties. Bibi Fatima and Bibi Zainab gave khutbah sermons in the courtyard of Yazid La'in. In those courtyards that were full of men. Was there any curtain in between? There weren't. And was Bibi Zainab and Bibi Fatima Zahra looking at the floor and talking to them? They were not. They were applying the organic style of staring. Just like I am staring at you and having this conversation, Bibi Fatima, Bibi Zainab did exactly the same thing. They needed to get their message across, and to engage, you need to have eye contact. Exactly how your universities, your school teaches you. In public speaking, what's the first thing they tell you to do? Voice at the front? When you do public speaking, when you do debate practice at school, what do they tell you?
Eye contact.
Exactly. Maintain eye contact. Islam says exactly the same. Maintain eye contact. But there is a limit. Okay? So, that is the organic style, and you're allowed to do that in Islam. The part you are not allowed to do is autonomous. Okay, where one look is to look at another person with care, with attraction. When you observe them, okay, the appearance, and it creates absurd image. That's wrong. That's where Islam says don't do it. So you need to always ask yourself, which style of look, which style of staring am I implying here? That is going to form your intention as well. Lady Zainab told us that hijab doesn't cover up a woman's weakness. It displays her strength, commitment, and confidence, which is built out of the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Physical modesty, in the same verse, be modest in thy walk and hide thy adornment, your zenith, your beauty. Some sisters asked about this yesterday as well. What is considered as your zenith, your beauty? Okay, we talked about the Quran said first reference to protecting your eye, protecting your modesty. Okay, the third part is be modest in thy walk. So when you walk, sisters, you should not walk in such a way that it craves and grabs attention. The fourth one is to hide your adornment, your zenith, your beauty. 4 points here. And sometimes your zenith, your voice is in your sound. When you recite Noha, when you recite Marcia, you recite it in beautiful voices. That is part of your zenith. And Allah has set limitations, barriers to where you can do this. This is a protection for you. Okay? And by voice, listen guys, it says lower. It doesn't say to be silent. So people who protest and says hijab takes away your freedom of speech. Is that right? Okay, so for yourself, okay? Spiritual hijab, your spiritual modesty. It's particular the quality of being humble, orderly, and pure. The quality of being decent and reasonable. You know, sometimes when you address somebody and you talk with opposite gender, in Islam you are allowed to talk. But as we say in our language, hadd zarura, to the limit where it is necessary. Having jokes beyond that, that's when there is obstacles. That's when you need to know your boundaries. Okay? Modesty, haya, it brings the good in you and the entire society. Okay? Some other types of spiritual modesty. You have internal and external self-improvement. When you have self-respect for yourself, that is modesty as well, guys. Many of us lack in this area. We don't have that self-respect for ourselves. We don't understand the value of ourselves. We don't understand how much precious we are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, the most favorable of you and the nearest to me on the day of Qiyamah will be the most well-mannered and the most modest. The remotest of you on the day of Qiyamah will be the big mouth and the proud. What does this mean? Okay, guys, we just clarified and we just admitted that modesty is in line with your confidence. Modesty increases your confidence. Here, proud and big mouth are the ones who are jahil, who are very overconfident, who are very proud. Okay? So this is the difference. Okay? That's how you dissect some hadiths. I have shortage of time, so I'm going quickly, guys. 4 minutes? Take it. Okay, inshallah. And spiritual modesty. Okay, situational modesty is the third aspect. In mixed gathering, guys, we have to maintain complete physical hijab. But if you are in just a gathering with ladies only, you are allowed to take your scarf off. Okay? Islam is very practical in that sense. Okay? That is situational, where you have to maintain modesty based on the situation. At work, we're coming to that, particularly handshakes that we do at work with opposite gender. When we go for an interview, at school, when you have an assembly, you have to handshake the principal's hand. What if your principal is a female? Do you still do handshake? How many of you went to your principal and said, I'm sorry, I can't do handshake? Have you done that? Okay. And how many big sisters and brothers have difficulty at interviews and get rejected for this is one part of it? Okay, that's fine. So we're going to cover some of the situational modesty, guys. We'll start off with handshakes with opposite gender. This is referring to interviews. From personal experience, I've been to interviews and I have been rejected. I didn't get the job because I refused to do handshake. I had one male interviewer and one female. I did handshake with the female, I didn't do with the male. I even said, sorry, I can't do it. They said, well, you did it with the female, why not me? I lost that job, guys.
And there are certain practical ways to deal with that situation. If you think that refusal is difficult for you, or you won't get the job, and you know from the very beginning you are going to an interview or a situation where this could come up, that you have to handshake with opposite gender, and it's difficult to explain to them, there are certain ways with which you can tackle the situation. Like there are some jobs you have, invisible kind of job, you can do that. And now we have COVID. So everybody is, aligned with that kind of mentality that you are maintaining a distance. So you can make that as an excuse. You can use that as an excuse if you find that explaining it that you are Muslim, that's why you are not handshaking, because now they think that you are not equally treating genders. So they try to take that in that situation. So you need to assess the situation, and there are certain ways and techniques with which you can cope up. So you don't have to go towards haram. There are certain halal ways to tackle the situation. Okay?
Guys, just in relation to this, we are running and inshallah in the future, if you guys have facing these issues, you guys going for interview, reach out to us. We can have mock interviews with you. We can have practices with you. This is available to each and every one of you. Okay? So if it's school related, your principal or your teacher comes and handshakes with you. Guys, remember you have freedom here. What will happen if you say no? I'm not going to do handshake with you. Are you going to get in trouble? You won't. Use your freedom wisely here. Don't be afraid when it comes to handshake. Marriage wrong perception. Very quickly touch base on this, guys. Okay, we'll think of this as a problem. We'll unwrap it in this way. There is a male person who wants to get married, who is looking for an ideal life partner. This concept, this mind and thought comes of an ideal partner. Okay, many times couples are holding hands when they're going to shopping centers, when they're going outside. Okay, this creates, you have a sense of responsibility when you're going outside. Firstly, you're not allowed to hold handshakes when you're going to public space with your wife, with your partner. Second, it has effect on somebody who is non-married. that person, for example, he is looking at you two and saying, oh, what a perfect couple. Okay? This makes a thought into their mind. Tomorrow when it's their turn to get married, tomorrow when the mother and father is trying to go and look for a spouse, they're saying, oh, I have this beautiful thought in my mind of a happy couple. This is how I want my wife to be. I want my wife to be working individual. I want my wife to represent me best in front of my friends, my peers, my family. This starts creating expectations in the mind of this individual, this boy. This can be for girls as well. You start having expectation and tawakul of having a certain life partner. What happens when you don't get this, guys? Are you going to be satisfied? Are you going to be happy if you don't find the ideal life partner? You're not. Straight away, it's affecting your relationship. You want to go in public, you want to hold your wife's hand, for instance, and she's saying, don't do that. Straight away, there's a clash between you and understanding. This has started from the first place where you see somebody else doing it. So don't say that, oh, she is my mehram, or he is my mehram, we can do whatever. No, you can't do whatever in public. This affects the entire society. Okay, shutting down. So what this happens is, boys particularly, they start having this expectation, and expectation is not met. They go towards the wrong pathway. They say to parents, I don't want to get married at all. They're saying, I have this expectation, if the girl is in this category, in my checklist, fine, otherwise don't come to me for marriage. Then they go towards other wrong paths. You guys know what I'm talking about. What slides are off, I'll just refer to this one. Okay, we need to analyze the problem here. Okay, so there is counseling happening. Feel free to come. If you are at that stage, please reach out. We have Hanum Abba Zahra, who is a youth counselor, a family counselor. We have Hanum Batul, who is also a counselor. We also have Maulanas who are counselors. So reach out. Okay? And many times, the thought that my wife is either a hijabi wife, she will stay at home, she will just cook. That's one mentality of a man. The other is when somebody wants a wife to be working with them, to go outside from 9 to 5, go work. If he's going for meetings, the wife to join. This is going to be a problem, guys, in the long run. Inshallah, in the future, we are working on courses relating to spouse selection, relating to newlywed couples, and who are at the stage of starting their family, tarbiyat ahlul. Okay? So inshallah, we'll get to that. Hanum, can you please focus and explain this concept? A lot of the time, sisters particularly says, it's my intention, it's my figure, my niyat that counts. Doesn't matter how I dress. Can you please explain?
First of all, maybe the boys would be feeling that we are kind of disconnected from the topic. This is related to you, first of all, as we have discussed yesterday and in the beginning of this session, that hijab is not only for women. There is hijab for men as well, to lower down your gaze, to protect your modesty, okay, and to behave in a certain way. Islam asks you to do so. And similarly, you have women in your life, so you are interconnected with that topic. And as Sister Nadia mentioned, that you need to be very clear about the idea that what kind of partner you want to have in your life, or what kind of people you want to have in your life when you are selecting your friends, when you are selecting the company, or you are selecting any kind of partner when you go later in your life. So that's how you are connected to that topic. And now, moving forward, we are coming to the common topics now, because this is what's being said. That's the slogan of today. They say that it is the intention that matters. Who cares what you wear? Okay, so that's kind of slogan that we need to do whatever we want to do. It's the freedom, and we should have a freedom of choice. Who cares? Like, nobody sees you. They claim that. So the main thing is, you should always keep in your mind that if you have accepted Islam with your own free will, you are by heart a Muslim, then you should fill that blank with who cares from Allah cares. Okay, so whatever you are doing is for the sake of Allah. As a Muslim, that's the very main thing. That's the very main idea. Qurbatan ilallah. Every task, everything, whatever you perform, either for the akhirah or even for the world, in this world or the hereafter, every deed should be for the sake of Allah. So similarly, what you wear, what you eat, how you act, where you go, with whom you meet, all things have certain boundaries. And you need to follow those boundaries for whom? For Allah. So you might think that it's taking away our freedom because we have to act in certain boundaries. But when we say that there is a freedom for other people, like they can wear whatever they want, is there a real freedom in that? Think about it. Is there a real freedom? Any thoughts on that? There is a boy and a girl, and they do whatever they want to do, or they wear whatever they want to wear. Is it really whatever they want to wear? It is really whatever they want to do, or it's something else?
No, I think it's what they are looking at the society, like what people would think if they were something. So it's the society makes them.
most of the time they are doing what other peers are doing, what their classmates are doing, what the friends are doing, social circles are doing. So they are basically people pleasers. Always they have people in front of them to whom they look at to please them. So Islam asks you to move from being people pleaser to Allah's pleaser. Okay, so always Allah's pleasure in front of everything, above all your intentions. That's the criteria you want to achieve, and that's the real freedom. That's the real freedom. That only Allah matters to you. Whatever other people are thinking, it doesn't matter to you. You are a free man or free woman. You are a free person. That's the real freedom. And that's only given by Islam. Otherwise, you are a slave of fashion. It's not that whatever you want to wear, you would wear. No, you would wear what is in fashion. You say, no, I would wear what is out of fashion. How you would wear out of fashion? Because all the things available in the market are aligned with fashion. Things are not available. So that's kind of a circle they have created, and they want you to be the slave of that system, of that slave of the society, and that's how they want to portray that in that circle you have the freedom. But that's not the real freedom. So Islam asks you to come from that circle of society, from the circle of Allah. So you have the similar boundaries. It's not very confined, or it's not very suffocating. You have a lot of choice, and you can choose within that. Within cultures, you can opt clothes according to one culture, other culture, any other culture, just within that boundary. So that's kind of Islamic fashion. So there is no problem in that. If you're accepting or being submissive in front of Allah, then it's the real submission. That you put Allah prior to every choice you are making. That's the real submission. Okay, so one more thing, the purpose of hijab. This question came yesterday as well, and it is connected to what we have talked just now. And I mentioned that for parents, if they put purpose of hijab in the minds of kids, then they would be following the lines of hijab, not only confined with the dress only. It is the lifestyle. So they would follow it. So what's the purpose of hijab? either with clothing or either without clothing. If you talk about just lower down your gaze, maintaining your modesty, it's all within the boundaries of hijab. So what's the real purpose of hijab? Anything, any point you have in your mind when we talk about purpose of hijab? It is?
Protects us from unwanted attention.
Okay, protecting from the unwanted attention from the men. Yes, one purpose of hijab. Yes, any other thoughts?
Yes.
To be safe.
To be
Safe.
safe, very good. So you can think about the intention of why you are doing hijab. Right now you can scrutinize your intentions, that why do really I wear hijab? Is it because my parents asked me to do so? Is it the cultural expectations, the society I'm living in, they are expecting? So ask yourself, what's the purpose? So one thing comes to your mind that would be your main intention, but there are several reasons when we talk about purpose of hijab. So when we talk about purpose of hijab, it is one thing that it gives protection, it makes you feel safe, and the main thing is Allah wants us to see like this. That's the very main reason. Because if you are all alone, even for boys, if you are all alone in a locked room and you are performing prayer, you have to wear certain dress. You have to maintain that dress code for prayer. Why? Allah is everywhere. You don't need to hide anything, or you cannot hide anything, right? But why? You have to wear all together like you are going outside. Similarly, you are preparing for prayer. Why is it that? Have you ever thought about it? Nobody is at home. You are in a room and that room is locked, and you are performing your prayer. For boys, they think that they can wear anything. No, it's not like that. You have to cover at least minimum requirement. You have to wear the t-shirt and at least shorts, and then you have to perform prayer, right? Although it's not recommended, recommended is to wear full pants. So why? Allah is everywhere. Even when you are changing clothes, He is there. Why? You have to follow that. Because, yeah.
As when you're talking with Allah, you should be like respectful.
Okay, be respectful. But if you are not covering your head or not wearing that kind of clothes, can't you talk to Allah? You can. Then, why is it compulsory to have this dress code while performing your prayers?
Maybe when you talk with Allah, like Allah said, and as you said, that Allah wants to see us like that.
Yes, Allah not only wants, Allah loves us to see us like that. That's the perfect dress code or the perfect physical, output you can say. Allah wants us from us. That's why Allah gave such a higher level to Hazrat Maryam. Because she spent certain years in that kind of lifestyle. Not only hijab, it's a complete lifestyle. And she adopted that lifestyle. What was the main thing about her lifestyle? Qurbatan ilallah. Everything she did was for the sake of Allah. So she devoted her life for that intention, and because of that, Allah gave her such a higher status that angels used to come to talk to her to bring message of Allah to a woman, which most of the people can't think about. It's such a higher level. And she had been chosen for giving birth to Prophet Isa. It's such a higher level. So why? Because she adopted that lifestyle, what is being loved by Allah. So Allah wants us to see us like that, to follow this lifestyle. That's the very main purpose. If we want to be closer to Allah, if we want to connect to Allah, we have to do this and we have to live our life in that certain way. You might think that, again, it's not a freedom. You are confined to do in certain way. But if you see the example of your parents, so your parents, if you want to make them happy, so for that, for whatever reason, either you need an iPad, a new mobile, or a permission to go somewhere, for those hours, or for that days, or for those days, you perform in that way as your parents want. You know you're very clever how to please your parents, and in those days, you behave in that certain way. So that's the way of pleasing anyone. Similarly, if you think about people who you love, who you really love, either your friends, either it's from family, either your parents or your siblings, whatever. So always, those people will come to your mind who are according to your expectations or desires, or they respect your preferences, isn't it? If somebody doesn't respect your preference, or if somebody doesn't care what you think about, what's your preferences, you won't like that person much, isn't it? So similarly, if we want to please Allah, if we want Him to love us, although He loves everyone, but if we would be disobedient, so there would be a disconnection. There wouldn't be that strong connection. There wouldn't be there, isn't it? So if we want to build up that relationship with Allah, that connection with Allah, then we have to act in that certain way that Allah wants us to act. Okay, so now the main purpose, other than those I have just identified, and one question sister asked me yesterday that a boy said that why we have to bear this burden, only women have to bear this burden to take the responsibility of, being modest, or why they have to cover, why men don't have to cover. So the main thing is that women are more beautiful than men. So they have the beauty. They possess that beauty, that gem, that jewel. So whenever there is a treasure who has a gem or jewel, he or she locks that. He or she protects that, isn't it? If somebody doesn't have anything, doesn't possess anything, you must have seen people who are homeless. They are there on the road. They don't lock anything because they have nothing to lose. But we have a lot to lose. That's why we are protected towards ourselves. Even though society don't care, but we have to care because we have a very precious possession. That's why we protect ourselves. So it is for our own self, for our own betterment. It gives us protection. It keeps us safe. This is one purpose. Now that's the main purpose. We have the screen. Can you see this? These days, this is the main purpose. Not only abide with the limitations of hijab, to be in that certain way, but with all the the roots of religion, or just hold religion close to you. That's the main thing, because this is our identity. You need to understand that you are a Shia Muslim girl or a Shia Muslim boy, and that's your identity. So you need to hold to that identity first of all, and second, you need to be proud of that identity. Don't be ashamed of it, because that's the most precious thing these days, and they are trying to steal that from you. As I'm saying that you have the drill, you have the gem. So boys might be thinking that we don't have the gem or we don't have the drill, but you have. What's that? That's your identity as being Shia Muslim. Now a question might come in your mind that who is stealing that? or who cares, as they were saying, who cares? But there are people who cares a lot. They are spending billions and billions of dollars to take away this identity. Because you don't realize you have a jewel, you have a gem, but they know you have it. And they are trying to steal from you. So I show you a video. Before that, I need to tell you that there is a new wave around in all countries, and I will show you some proofs about it, where they are trying to steal your identity. How? First of all, it was related to transgender issues. Boys want to become girls, girls want to become boys, or either they are confused. Identity crisis, identity confusion. These are the concepts they teach us in university. I am studying in final semester in University of Melbourne in Masters, and in psychology they teach us this concept that this generation today is going through identity crisis, identity confusion. They don't know who they are, and they are taking the benefit out of it. How? First of all, they confuse them about their gender. Am I a boy? Or am I a girl? Or am I mixed? Or I'm both? I'm bisexual. I'm this, I'm that. So they were making them confused about that. Now it's going beyond that. Now they are not making it only transgender, they are making it trans species. Now girls are identifying them as cats, and boys are identifying them as dogs or kangaroo or whatever animal they feel associated with. And this all started with all kind of animations they used to make, where different animals are speaking, different genders of animals or different species are marrying together, having romantic relationships. You have a lot many series you can watch or animation movies you can think of, like Shrek. There is an example. Madagascar, there is an example where they are marrying different species. So they all started that in a very cute way. And now that cute way is taking away the minds of all youth, all teenagers, all young kids. It's in fashion. It's the most recent trend that girls are identifying them as cats. And it's been accepted in Australia. Now it's been announced in a school that from now onwards this girl identifies her as cat. So we are supposed to respect her choice and we would treat her from now on as a cat. And they put on their ears, their tails. They ask people to take them out for walk in leash. They come on top of the table to drink milk. And let me show you how it goes.
Joined now by our international correspondent, Alex Newman. Alex, thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me, dude. Great to
Well,
meet you.
we live in a time when maybe you and I ought to reconsider these beers, because you have children now in American public schools, and this is utterly predictable. If you're going to let kids pretend to be whatever gender they say they are, if you're going to let them to engage in this kind of denial of biological reality, why not allow them to become identifying as furries? Tell us what a furry is, Alex.
Yeah, you almost feel ridiculous talking about it, dude, but there are now hundreds of thousands of kids all across this country in government schools, brainwashed zombies, I feel so bad for them, that are identifying as, they call themselves furries, they might be identifying as a dog or a cat or a kangaroo, and so they come to school wearing tails, they come to school, painting whiskers on themselves, they put little fake ears on, and like literally, the ones that identify as cats, they'll meow at people, the ones that identify as dogs will bark at people, they'll growl at people. In some cases, we've got reports of children biting other students as if they were dogs.
otherkins are human. Consciousness is expanding and people are starting to question more, what is a human?
I definitely believe I'm ammar, right?
This lifestyle is kind of like a coloring book where she hands me the lines and I can just fill them in with whatever color I want.
She identifies her as a baby.
I like to think I'm a 24/7 kid.
My name is Tony and I'm a human pup.
I'm Andrew. I'm Tony's husband and trainer.
Today's topic is trans species. Yes, this is an actual thing, an actual issue, and it is growing in popularity. There's another one. This man's life as a pup. This person identifies as a dog. This one identifies as a cat. This one identifies as a 6-year-old girl. This guy identifies as a hobbit, and this girl identifies as a gender fluid demon doll.
So now you can understand that it's not something made up. It's real, it's happening, and it's very hot in America. It has entered Australia as well. Now it's the main trend. So even you can find, comments under these videos where kids are saying who have this, sense of identification, they can identify them as human beings. They are refusing to go to school because they say that everybody is now either transgender or trans species. So this is the growing trend. So if you are not able to accept the pressure from your peer pressure, if you can't have that, if you can't tolerate it, so you have to have that peer pressure for this kind of situation as well. Because when I went to Canberra, so there are some senior teachers, they told me that a trend comes in and it's kind of a wave. There was a trend of glasses, putting on glasses. So even though they had very good eyesight, kids are buying glasses and putting it on because it's in the trend. It's the fashion. They are the slave of the fashion. They have to follow the trend. Then came the trend of the braces. So although their teeth are straight, they are putting braces. Ordering on eBay, the colorful braces with the shapes. So they have to follow the trend. So they are putting it on. So now the trend is to being transgender or trans species. So that's how it's going. So if you are not clear in your mind about your identity, and if you are not proud of it, if you don't stick to it, if you don't remain in that orbit, then you would get lost in this universe. You don't know where the lines are. So now they are not targeting on any religion, they are targeting the humanity. They are erasing the lines of humanity and animals. And God knows what comes next. Because they are the forces which are there because of the evil and the devils. So now Islam is, there are two castles. One is Islam's and the other is of kufr. So you have to choose. Either you want to be in the castle of Islam or you want to be on the other side. Because there is no gray area now. You have to choose. You have to identify yourself and be proud of it. So that was the message, and if you have any questions, just a couple of minutes and we are going to wind up, and then we have our respected Maulana and he is going to address you. Yes, any questions please?
Any question? If they have any question, we have given them notebooks.
Yes,
They can
fine.
write
So
their
in future-
feedbacks as well and return those notebooks. So we will.
So this is very important that identify yourself as a Shia Muslim girl and Shia Muslim boy. So that's the trend you need to stick to. Okay? So that the wave of trend don't take you away.
Guys, just with this, we did talk about that we have counseling sessions happening. So this is an if you want to take a photo of this, feel free, because we do have female counselors, alhamdulillah, in our community. So utilize this and take opportunity of this for your children, for individual family counseling. So this is running. And if we go to the final slide, please, Connell. basically the overall concept of hijab, the benefits, the purpose, all in a nutshell with dot points. So you should be proud of your identity. So please feel free to take. Inshallah, we will give you access to the slides as well. If you don't want to have, don't feel like asking questions out loud, that's why you guys given the notebook. Please feel free to write your questions and feedback on those notebook, and inshallah that will be collected at the end. So please do not take those home. That brings to the first segment. Are we having break, sir?
Yes,
Okay.
children will be there, lady will be remain in the kitchen area, male will go outside.
Okay, so is male going to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I can have male brothers to please make your way to the refreshment area and then head outside further, so then the sisters can